order. We got to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Everybody up. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Would you do roll call, please?
Ms. Philippe, Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Present.
Ms. Joseph,
Present.
Ms. McGlar-Fenelon, Ms. Boulay, Ms. Hill,
Present.
and Ms. Estime Irving. We have quorum.
Thank you. Are you going to do the public
I'll do the quasi-judicial.
quasi?
I'll do the quasi-judicial. You can do the announcement, which is just the reading of the public hearing.
Which one? What am I doing?
Read
Sorry.
here, right here.
Oh, yes, that's a,
Yes.
okay. Public hearings. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. The applicant or duly authorized agent for the applicant must be present. If no representative is present, the application will be tabled to the next Board of Adjustment meeting. When the petition is announced, the applicant or his or her agent shall approach the microphone and state his or her name and address for the record. Any interested party wishing to speak on any item may approach the podium after the board has opened the public hearing. Each party shall approach the microphone and state his or her name and address for the record, and shall address his or her comments to the board. Each party shall speak for not more than 3 minutes in order to provide for order and time for other interested parties to address their comments, concerns to the board.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, if I may, I will now administer the quasi-judicial oath. Thank you. Anyone desiring to speak this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Anyone other than attorneys representing the applicants? Anyone speak? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
The chair, vice chair?
We will be conducting a vote for the chair and the vice chair, but we'll do that at the end of the agenda at the new business, when we get to the new business portion of the agenda at the end.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
But there are no amendments to this particular agenda. Thank you. Do we have any communications between the board members and any one of the applicants? No communications?
No.
No.
Thank you. You may proceed.
There's no continued petitions. There's no new. I'm going down the list. Anyone going to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Okay.
In addition to the execution of the minutes, Madam Chair, by the way, thank you for approving the minutes. At the last hearing, there was an item that was determination of a status of a non-conforming special exception, which was approved, and that document is also will be required to be executed by you as the vice chair. And if you can execute those documents in addition to the minutes, thank you.
I was the only one to vote against.
That's all right.
Mm.
You're now acting in the vice chair capacity.
Okie dokie. What's the 20th July? Okay. You're welcome. So are we going to do this in order? V 416? Center Court Apartments.
Shall I read do typically, okay.
You want me to
Okay,
sign, where do you want me to sign this? Which name would you like me to stand in for? Okay. There you go. So we're gonna do Center Court Apartments, 14695 Northeast 18th Avenue, V
Yes,
416 First.
yes, ma'am. The request is for a variance to Article 5, Division 9, Section 5-902 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Land Development Regulations, to allow a proposed fence with a height of 8 feet in connection with a property located at 14695 Northeast 18th Avenue, where the maximum allowable height set forth in the LDRs for fences in the R6 zoning district is 6 feet. Said variance is to be reviewed under the criteria set forth in Article 3, Division 6, Section 3-606 of the LDRs. And I'll just start with my report. and,
Okay.
Basically, the applicant is YMP Center Court LLC, represented by Ethan Wasserman, who's here with us tonight. The property is a very large property, 14.84 acres at the referenced address. It's a seven building apartment complex, and the buildings are varying heights. Located, the main entrance is along 18th Avenue. So just for orientation, the main entrance on the property is at 18th Avenue. The north side is 149th Street. The east side of the property is Northeast 19th Court, and it's about 100 feet north of 146th Street on the south side. The request before us tonight is to install what it really is an existing 4-foot wall along the public right-of-way property lines, which measure 783 feet along 18th Avenue and 776 feet along 149th Street. There's an existing wall, and the application is to add a 4-foot fence along those two rights-of-way on top of the fence. And this is basically to provide security for the complex. Along the east and south property lines is an existing concrete fence, but it's lower on the rights of way, and this request is due to a security issue, and basically there are new owners for the property, and the first order of business is basically to secure the property. And I just wanted to show you, this is a 3-month police report just for the last 3 months. So we just wanted to bring this to your attention. It is indeed a true statement when they say there's a security issue. And actually, when I was out there taking pictures, I saw people going over the fence, over the wall. So I did get to see it with my own eyes.
Can we see that?
So basically, just to give you a little history, this is kind of a dense residential area in the middle of industrial and then unincorporated Dade County to the west of this site. And the apartments were built in 1971. With respect to the comp plan, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. As I said, the LDRs allow up to a 6-foot high wall. They have a 4-foot high wall now, and so they'd like to add another 4 feet on those two sides. We've completed what staff has to do, which is deem the application complete, make sure it complies with the criteria of the variance section. We've written recommendations, and we've scheduled it for hearing, and we've published it in the newspaper, and the site has been posted, and courtesy notices have been sent out, and it was published on, the ad for this item was published on July 7th. The next item is just the criteria for variance, for this item, for variances. And I just need to make one correction on page 5. I have, under the staff response, under special conditions, I have that the request is, I have east and west sides of the apartment complex. It's actually the east and south sides have the concrete wall.
What number is
What
that?
number are you talking about?
It's number 1 under standards on page 5.
So what needs to be changed?
I just have the direction wrong. It says east and west sides of the apartment complex, and it really should say east and south sides. That's where the
Okay.
existing walls
It's in this
that are
one.
higher
Okay.
abutting the manufacturing areas are now. So that's just one change. We believe in our analysis they do meet the basic intent of the code, and that this is the minimum required, minimum variance necessary in order to secure the property. And with that, our conclusion is recommending approval with 3 conditions. And I'll just read those conditions into the record. That if approved, an application for a building permit be submitted along with the board order to the building department. So that's just ministerial. That the variance, if granted, shall become null and void if and of no effect 12 months from the date of this approval unless there is a building permit issued. That the applicant submit plans for landscape approval prior to building permits. And with that, I'm done with my report.
Well, thank you. Does anyone want to come up and speak on behalf of this project?
Good evening, Ethan Wasserman with Greenberg Traurig, 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant. With me here tonight is Ralph Godwin on behalf of ownership. I think staff covered it pretty well. I'll just highlight a couple issues. We purchased the property about 10 months ago. Since that time, we've invested a lot of time, money, and energy to improve this project. This application before you is driven by a security need. Just to give you an example, in the past 10 months, we've had dozens of false fire alarm permits where kids will pull the fire alarms, and because it's a life safety concern, the trucks have to come out to the site. The kids end up jumping over the walls. We can't catch them, and we get hit with about $1,000 or $1,500 a ticket every time this happens. So we really need to secure the site. There's an existing 4-foot high wall. So under the code, if we were to put 2 feet in height on top of it, which is allowed up to the 6 feet, anybody who's nimble enough could really just jump right over that. It's not an effective measure. So we're asking for an additional 2 feet, which is really consistent with the industrial zoning around us, which allows up to 8 feet. Staff is recommending in favor of the application, which, as you all know, is substantial competent evidence for you to rely on to approve the project. We satisfy all of the criteria in 3-606 governing the approval requirements for a variance. We agree with all of staff's conditions and have no objection. So with that, I'll close our presentation, and we're here to answer any questions you have.
Well, before we open public forum, let the record reflect that Peggy Boulay has joined us before the applicant's presentation. Okay. I said that. Does anyone want to speak on behalf or against this application? Then public comments are closed. Does anyone want to ask some questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm here. Madam Chair, I know of this complex very, very well. And it's been a security nightmare for a long time. And it's been on the police hit list for a long time. It's had a lot of problems. If this can help abate the problems, I'd like to, assuming that nobody else has any other questions. Okay.
You have a question?
Yeah, is this, will this complete your security measures?
No,
What
we-
other measures do you have in mind?
Sure. I'll let ownership answer that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ralph Godwin. I reside at 777 Northwest 155th Lane, Miami, Florida 33169. I am the Chief Operating Officer of YMP Real Estate Management, which is the affiliated ownership of YMP Center Court LLC, who's before you today asking for this variance. We bought the property in October of last year. I joined YMP in May of this year. And in touring our properties, you are being very kind to say that it is a police nightmare, because the police department refused to allow their officers to go on the property by themselves. The police officers were required to go in twos. That's how bad it was. For the first time in known history to the North Miami Police Department, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Commander Blanchard and 7 other of the North Miami leadership in the police department to discuss the problem and how we administer it. We have hired a new security force and doubled our security on the property. We have also approached the city of North Miami, and with Commander Blanchard's help, have hired 6 off-duty police officers that are now touring the property in random shifts, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And what we're seeing is 2 things. We were seeing neighborhood individuals come onto the property and use it as a base for drug dealing and various and sundry other mischief. And we were seeing our residents and their guests going into the community using our apartment complex as the base for their dealing and distribution operations. We are going through with the North Miami Police, and we are arresting people on site on suspicion. We've made 7 arrests in the last week, and we are prosecuting. So as we find individuals who are residents, we are evicting them, and we have committed to the city police department that we are going to clean this up. So what we are asking for today is to limit casual access in and out of the property. Because as it was noted before, a 12-year-old could jump our fence and run in and out unimpeded. So with another 4 feet, you've now got 8 feet, which makes it a climb with increased security. We've got better visibility to see people coming in and out. And it gives us the ability to control access through the front gate, where security is now controlling guests, tenants, and any other people that wish to approach the property, such that we can tow vehicles that have been stolen, abandoned, or used for drug dealing. And we are making a concerted effort on the part of the ownership to become a productive community within the city of North Miami.
How many units do you have in your apartment complex?
588.
And at any given time, how many security guards do you have?
We have 6 Airborne Security, which is a private commercial security provider, and another 2 Miami off-duty officers.
6 every shift, or 6 per day, or 6 employed
6 every
total?
shift.
Okay.
And they would go, there is a person at the front guard gate 24/7. And then there are people that are roving the property. And we've got a security guard and a North Miami police person together, which gives us a little more credibility than just the
And
security service.
when you lease an apartment, do you do a criminal background check?
Yes, we do now. Thank
Now,
goodness.
okay.
And that was not done before.
Right.
I have just one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you asking only for 2, the west and the north frontage, the 8-foot gate, rather than all the way around?
Because the east side and the north and the south side of the properties already have concrete walls, and they're both industrial sides, and it was stated to us that there's no security problem from that side. It's the public right-of-way sides, which are the lower walls. The walls on the east and south are of adequate height to prevent people from jumping over.
2 sides, 2 of the 4 sides are in compliance because they lie adjacent to the M1 zoning district, which already allows the 8.
Oh, okay, so it will be
So
all
actually,
the-
we're bringing the property into conformity with the other half.
Oh, okay, all right,
Question,
that's my only
in a
question.
way.
are the residents being checked in at the guard gate, or the guards are just there just to make sure they're coming in without having any issues?
If you're a resident, you have a magnetic key card that's given to you when you sign your lease, and you're able to drive through, fob the gate, and there's a special gate that opens for you. Your car is photographed by a camera, which is capable of reading your license plate, and you're allowed to go and access your apartment. If you come through the guest entrance, your car is stopped at the gate. You must produce a valid driver's license, and the guard will call to see who you are visiting, and you're issued a guest pass that gives you 24 hours to visit the property.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, just to clarify, you're asking to put a 4-foot iron fence on top of the existing concrete wall. Why do you want to keep the wall? Why wouldn't you want to replace it with all of a concrete fence?
Because the wall,
Or a
sorry.
wrought iron fence?
Okay, the wall, we are closing, the wall is a concrete block wall that about every 20 feet had an embedded mosaic see-through pattern in it. What we've done is we've concreted up the see-through pattern so that it's now a uniform, solid wall. And it's actually a very good wall and a very strong wall. So the idea was we would put a effective wrought iron addition on top of that, such that when we paint the base and paint the wrought iron, it becomes a very attractive two-part wall.
Are you going to keep the color scheme that's already existing?
Absolutely not, because it is ugly like
It
you
is.
cannot believe.
It's absolutely ugly. I think that the city of North Miami is trying to clean up areas of blight.
And we would qualify as blight.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting towards. I'm just kind of nervous about this wall and then a wrought iron fence on top of it. What do you have other improvements in store that? So this is going to be painted and look
Okay.
attractive, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, to go back in history, the property is a low-income tax credit housing project.
Right.
So we are limited by law in terms of the income that people can have to qualify to live there and the rents that we can charge. And we knew that when we bought the property, we budgeted for that in the acquisition, and we were comfortable with our ability to generate the returns required for our ownership. However, when you look at the workforce housing that we are serving, the limitations aren't that great given the income of the average workforce in North Miami. So when we look at 60% of the median income, historically the ownership would allow anyone who would pay rent to live there. And it was, as has been noted, a historically problematic property. We have purchased it, and we are committed to make it comfortable, safe, clean, and quiet. And that gives workforce housing a place to live and raise their family and be proximate to schools and their workplace. So we have been patching roofs, we've been repairing windows, we are repairing the parking lot, we are going to completely re-stucco and repaint the exterior, and we are trying extraordinarily hard to attract a higher end of workforce housing than has been there in the past, so that we still maintain all of our regulatory requirements in terms of income and in terms of our rent structure. But as I told Commander Blanchard, the bad boys are going to leave, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I am evicting them as fast as I can sign the eviction notices.
Yeah. Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to make a motion that we approve.
We have one follow-up.
Oh, okay.
I have
I
some more
think we're
questions.
still discussing.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All right. So 3 areas I'd like to cover with you. You mentioned that you have some efforts to attract some higher end, I guess, residents. Can you tell us a little bit more about
Within
those
the-
efforts?
Okay. As I got on the property the first week of May, what I was seeing was an individual would come in, qualify, rent an apartment, and on their way out, they would throw the keys to 5 men, and the 5 men would occupy the apartment. And traditionally, it was someone's girlfriend that rented the apartment. She would go out, throw the keys to a guy, he would move in with 5 people, and they would wreak mayhem. And what we are doing as part of YMP's preventative maintenance is I have somebody in that apartment every 90 days. We change the air filter, we check for water leaks, and I get to see through my maintenance staff how many people are living there, and does the apartment look like what the lease says it should. And so if you are a gangbanger, you are a drug dealer, you are a pharmaceutical manufacturer in your apartment, you are leaving. And that's all there is to it.
Okay.
Because we've got families with children that live there. We've got people that get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and are out to work, and they need it to be quiet by 10 o'clock. They need to be able to leave their vehicle in the parking lot and have it safe when they come back out the next morning. And that's just the way we operate the properties that we own.
Sounds good. Inquiry number 2 is, you mentioned for guests that they would be required to show a valid driver's license. Do you have any other proofs of ID that you accept other than a driver's license?
That's all we need.
What if they don't have a driver's license?
Then
Some
why are they
people don't
driving the
drive.
car?
Okay, it's for the person who's driving. Just kidding, carry on. And then, what's my last question? You mentioned that you're doing criminal background checks now.
Yes, ma'am.
What criteria are you using once you get those criminal background checks to determine who you'll allow and who you won't allow?
Okay. What I am looking for is drug dealers. I am looking for sexual offenders. I am looking for people that are going to need the knowledge of our community knowing they are living there. And then if I see something that comes up in a background check where a person has an aggravated criminal record that covers multiple offenses over long periods of time, I'm sorry, but you need to find someplace else to live. If I see somebody that has committed a crime, has gone to jail and served their time, I am now required by law to say, it's even, you're welcome, come in.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Just to kind of piggyback off that question,
Yes, ma'am.
are you taking referrals from housing agencies or halfway houses or things like transition programs?
Yes,
Okay, and
but
you're,
they still have to qualify, just like everyone else, on their income, on their criminal background, and their credit rating. And that's unfortunately very difficult for many of the referrals from those agencies.
that's what I was going to say, because most of those referrals from those agencies have some sort of maybe a drug dependency issue, maybe a minor criminal background or something to that effect. So are you waiving certain things contingent upon them maybe receiving further counseling or continuing an outside program through the time that they've occupied the lease, or
Most
how's
of
that
what we're
working?
seeing, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I was asking how.
No,
how does that
most
work?
of what we see are referrals from what they call halfway houses,
Mhm.
where the individual has already completed rehab, they have been through their halfway residency satisfactorily, and they have gotten a job and have held that for the period of their halfway residence. And so they are transitioning. What we are getting is referrals of people who are transitioning from a halfway house back into an independent living situation. And yes, if they can do that, we don't require a credit check. We would require 2 weeks of pay stubs. And our property manager has a fair amount of leniency in terms of what they can do there if there's a story that shows a road to recovery.
Okay, and the last question is that I see a lot of burglary, a lot of, I see a few domestic violence incidents, and what was the other one that I saw a lot of? the miscellaneous incidents. So will this new structure that you're proposing to add onto the property, will that help with, I know we talked about burglary and things of that nature, but do you think that's going to honestly help with the issues that you're having on the property in terms of burglary and theft and things of that nature?
Okay, as someone who's managed apartment buildings for 30 years, I see a fair amount of normal domestic disputes from time to time. In a property the size of Center Court, that's probably going to be one a week. And that's just simply an argument that got loud and the neighbor complained. The police are called, they respond, it settles down very quickly. The things that we are focused on, the burglaries that we investigate are almost 100% drug related.
Okay.
And it is either an addict going to what they believe to be a dealer or a dealer going to collect from a pusher. And if you owe somebody in that line of work money, they are going to break your door down. And if you are looking for drugs, they will try and break a door down. And that is the majority of our burglaries, with the exception of car break-ins. And that's just somebody that got over our fence, is wandering the parking lot, looking for unlocked doors, or smash and grab of something they see on the seat inside the car. So burglaries and drug dealing, that is what we are really focused on getting off our property. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Do you feel you have sufficient lighting in your parking lots to keep your tenants safe?
Yes.
And
we are
have-
improving that.
You are improving that?
Yes. Commander Blanchard and his team is giving us locations that are dark, in that there are two things with this fence. One is removing all the cars that don't belong on the property, which we are now doing. Number two is there's some landscaping areas along 18th Avenue that need to be beautified to prevent people from parking their cars and loitering along the side of the street. And then the other piece of it is digging some of the dirt away from places that build up against the wall. And so the landscaping part of the conditions will help that dramatically.
Okay, and then cameras? Do you have any cameras in the facility, in the apartment complex anywhere?
The entire residence is cameraed, but they are not networked properly, and that will happen within the next 45 days. What we have is we've got buildings that all have cameras, but the cameras don't talk to the central management office. They just have recorders in the individual buildings.
So if there's an incident, you can go back and look at that camera.
Absolutely.
But the cameras won't tell you that the incident occurred, is what you're saying.
Well,
Is it current?
the
Yeah.
way our management team at the office works, there will be a camera that is playing.
Wait, I would caution you to consider what you're sharing in a public forum about your security system. Just a thought.
That's fine.
Okay.
I would like all the bad people to know that we're
Okay, carry
taking their
on.
pictures.
All right, cool.
And we do.
Okay.
And if you're in a laundry room, if you're in the parking lot, if you're in an elevator, we want to know about it. And what happens is they're all motion sensor activated, so they flash from camera to camera. Right now, we've got two buildings that we see everything real time. The other buildings are carved as single DVRs, where yes, the cameras are operational, but it's like driving in the rear view mirror.
Okay.
Somebody has to come and complain or call the police, and then the police will come to us and say there was an incident yesterday at 4 o'clock. Can we go access the DVR? And we're glad to do that. So I do have visual history, but I don't have it connected yet real time to where someone would see something happening in the parking lot and be able to immediately get on the radio and call the police out in the parking lot and direct them to a specific incident.
Okay.
On that note,
Anybody else?
I think I'll second Mr. McDermott's
I would like to
motion.
add just the condition that those cameras get fixed in 45 days, like you said, that you plan to do.
Accepted.
Anyone second that?
I'm sorry.
I would just add a minor modification. We'll accept the condition, but add a reasonable period of time to make sure the permits are obtained, inspections pulled.
What-
Yeah.
Just want to
What
clarify.
period of time would you feel comfortable with?
Actually, the variance, the building permit must be obtained within 12 months of the issuance of the variance. So, there you go. I mean, it's
Then
the
12 months.
landscaping, we can add the inclusion of the security. Yes, sir.
Yeah, within the year.
Understood and accepted.
We'll accept that.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
What is the
Accept that.
appropriate name of the networking cameras? What did you just say? Or security cameras, or what wording?
It would be creating
Oh,
a combined camera network where all the cameras feed into the main management office.
Okay, so there was a second.
Subsequent to the network, what was that? Trying to get the wording so that we can put it into the variance as a condition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's call it a combined networking of the security cameras.
All right, so then that's a
Thank
friendly
you.
amendment. I'm assuming he accepts it?
That would be
Accept
condition
it?
number 4, and
I
that
accept it
is
as a second.
accepted.
is everyone in
Thank you very
agreement?
much.
Ready?
One comment, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for what you're trying to do there.
You're welcome.
I remember years ago, it was literally a war zone there.
There are still gunshot holes in the walls of the apartment.
Oh, yeah, believe me, I know. There was a time when the police were almost afraid to go in there, not knowing exactly
Until
what they
about
were
6
walking
weeks
into.
ago.
Yeah, yeah. So congratulations, and thank you what you're doing for the tenants who there's a lot of tenants, workforce people and affordable people who need a place to live, but they need a place to live that's decent and peaceful. So thank you for helping to provide that for them.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate the opportunity.
And I'll second that, thank you as well.
Yes, I agree. It's so difficult to take on blight in this city and to try to make low-income housing safe and comfortable. Not everybody who uses low-income housing is one of the people that you're speaking about that are violent drug dealers, and we need to make those communities just as safe for children growing up and for everyone to have a good quality of life in this city. So with that, would you like to go ahead? Call a vote?
Do we call a vote?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Yes.
Ms. Joseph,
With pleasure, yes.
Ms. Boulay,
Yes.
and Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Variance is approved with the 4 conditions stated on the record. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck.
Going to go in order? Okay, so V516, designer blinds and fabrics at 1830 Northeast 144th Street. Is anyone here that wants to speak on behalf of this application?
Yeah.
Come on.
I'll do the.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
the
Okay.
report first.
All
Okay.
right, sorry.
The petition is a variance, a request, a variance to Article 4, Division 3, Section 4-303 of the Land Development Regulations to allow the existing warehouse/showroom and proposed expansion thereto, which is located at 1830 Northeast 144th Street, to be set back 5 feet from the side or west property line where minimum side setback set forth in the Land Development Regulations for developments permitted in the M1 zoning district is 15 feet. Said variances to be reviewed under the criteria set forth in Article 3, Division 6, Section 3-606 of the LDRs. The applicant is Designer Blinds and Fabrics, and the agent is Ricardo Muniz. And the property owner is Magnolia Drive Investments. This site, which is again at 1830 144th Street, is about just over half an acre and consists of 2 folios. The parcel is also what we call a through parcel because although the front is on 144th Street, it goes 1 full block to 143rd, so that's called a through parcel. The applicant wishes to basically renovate the existing structure and construct an addition to that structure. The existing square footage is about 7,100 square feet, whereas the addition would be about just over 2,500 feet. The building, as many buildings in that area, were constructed quite a long time ago, before the current code was in place. This building was constructed in 1958. And many of the structures, just for your information, many of the structures in that area would not meet the 15-foot setback, the site setbacks today. So what they're proposing is to do the addition at the same line as the existing structure. So it wouldn't set back any more or less than what's there now, the new structure. So it would be totally in line on the west, along the west property line. And the whole area, this property and everything around it, is zoned M-1, which is warehouse use. This proposal, and what it is just, it's very, very light manufacturing. It's fabrics, designer, blinds, and those types of things. So it's a very light, still industrial, but very light industrial use. So it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. We've analyzed the request, and as part of this request, it's not just doing the addition, but it's also modernizing the look of the structure, adding some windows and doors to it, upgrading the landscaping and the parking lot, along with this addition.
No.
So again, staff has deemed the application complete. We've provided a report to you summarizing the application. We've provided findings. We've made a recommendation. We're here at hearing tonight, and we've noticed it properly. We published the variance request on July 7th and mailed the courtesy notice on the same day, and the property has been posted according to the code. We've looked at the standards, and basically as I said, we looked at if there were any unusual circumstances, but the majority of the structures in the neighborhood have much less than 15 feet side setbacks. We believe that the variance does maintain the basic intent of the regulations. It is, as I said, compliant with the comp plan and uses allowed under the zoning, the land development regulations. And it is really the minimum variance necessary because it will, I think, architecturally make the building look whole and not make an addition look like an addition. And it is expanding and modernizing the building and adding parking and landscaping to the parcel. With that, we recommend approval, subject to 5 conditions listed, but the Assistant City Attorney and I were speaking, and we would like to add one more for the record, and I'll read that when I finish reading the other 5. So the first condition is that the use complies with all applicable requirements of the Division of Environmental and Regulatory Management of the county's Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources and all other county and state agencies. That a certificate of use from the Community Development and Planning Department only be issued upon compliance with all terms and conditions of this approval, the same subject to cancellation upon violation of any conditions. That a recorded unity of title in a form agreed to by the city be submitted to the Community Planning and Development Department prior to administrative site plan approval. That the variance, if granted, shall become null and void and of no effect 12 months from and after the date of approval, unless such period of 12 months, within 12 months a building permit is issued. That the landscape plan be provided to the Community Planning and Development Department prior to the issuance of any building permit in order to review conformance with the landscape code. Those are the 5 listed. Now the 6th one is that a power of attorney. I'm sorry.
I'll take
Okay.
that one. I will be requesting, I'll have to cross-examine the applicant before he proceed after he introduces himself. I would like to request a proper power of attorney from the actual fee owner before we vote on this item tonight. So this would be one of my conditions, preconditions, for this hearing tonight for this item. Thank you.
So what exactly is the person presenting's relationship?
That's what I would like to question.
Okay,
No,
got it.
okay.
Carry on then.
So,
Do you wish to get up and speak?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ricardo Muniz. I'm the registered architect representing Mohammed Al-Manla, which is the owner of Magnolia Investors. I'm here to represent him.
as a point of order, if I may interrupt, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions before we
course.
proceed as a quasi-judicial proceeding. What is the, your relationship to Josefina Almanla
My relationship, I'm the architect.
for
Josefina is-
Josefina?
Yeah, I'm the architect. Josefina is Mohammed's wife, and they're owners of Magnolia Investments.
Okay. The power of attorney that was executed actually is listing her as the fee owner, which she's not. She's not the fee owner. The fee owner happens to be the corporate entity. So you would have to agree to the condition that a proper power of attorney is going to be executed. And I will make that a condition of the variance if in fact it's approved tonight, and it will be automatically, it's not even going to get executed if I don't see that power of attorney. So would that be okay with you?
Of course.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Applicant.
Okay, just to get that clear, that's just another form that notarized it and submitted to the. Does it have to go
It's
under?
actually, it was actually signed by Josefina Almanla, and I don't know if she's here tonight, but that was signed, she signed it as the individual property owner. That's not
Which is-
the record. The record does not show her being the property owner.
No worries.
Exactly. So the actual property owner is Magnolia Drive Investments LLC, and that's who I need. Josefina may sign for it, but as the manager of the LLC, the actual fee owner is the LLC, not Josefina.
Perfect.
It's a technicality,
They have
but
a
it's,
form
Perfect.
for you to take.
All right.
so there it is. And a condition of this variance, if approved tonight, is a proper execution of that document.
There's
which I
not
don't-
going to have to be another commission meeting.
That's what I'm trying to
No.
prevent, sir. If
Okay,
you agree to
perfect.
this, we'll
Yes.
proceed, otherwise we'll kill it right now.
No,
We'll end it.
go ahead.
All right, great,
I'll
thank
provide
you.
this.
You
Thank
may proceed.
I'm done. The explanation that he provided, it was sufficient. What we're trying to do is extend this building, its envelope exactly as it is, same height, same width, just extend it back to the back lot portion, which is right now vacant. We're gonna, as part of this addition, we're gonna embellish the complete structure on the outside. We're gonna restucco it. We're gonna add new windows, doors, awnings over the doors. Resurface the whole parking lot, provide a new fence, new gates. It's just a complete development. It's a pretty old building. The owner, when he bought it, he haven't done any improvements to to the building itself, and now he wants to do this, and we would like to proceed with keeping that addition going. That'll be all.
Thank you. If we're ready for public forum or open for public comment? Anyone wish to say a word? No? Then we close public comments. Anyone have any questions?
That back area that you're extending it to, do you use it as parking or it's not used at all?
Right
Or
now,
use
it's
it
not
for-
used at all.
And this will bring it into total compliance with today's building codes, correct?
Yes. Yes. We're doing all ADA for the building. All the windows and doors are going to be impact resistant. It's going to be full compliant.
I'd like to move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion. You want to do roll call
As amended.
as amended?
Thank you.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Yes.
Ms. Joseph,
Yes.
Ms. Boulay,
Yes.
Ms. Hill.
Yes. Thank you for doing business with the city of North Miami.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Form will be sent to Brittany when you're.
Yeah, the It makes it really nice. Rejuvenates the area. Okay, we are now up to V6-16, Samaria Christian Church, Inc., 13995 West Dixie Highway. You want to say a few words there?
I'm almost there.
Almost there.
There we go. Sorry. Okay. Good evening again. This is application V-6-16, Summary Christian Church, 13995 West Dixie Highway. The applicant is Flagami Land Corporation, and the agent is Mr. Roden Alexis. This parcel is about 3/4 of an acre, and the petition request is for a special exception use pursuant to Article 4, Division 2, Section 4-302 of the Land Development Regulations to allow a proposed religious institution at the property located at 13995 West Dixie Highway in the C1 district. Said special exception to be reviewed under the criteria set forth in Article 3, Division 5, Section 3-504 of the LDRs. The parcel is located on the east side of West Dixie Highway, west of Northeast 13th Avenue, and south of theoretical 140th Street. The structure was built in 1972 and is about just over 5,700 square feet. It is now vacant, but was formerly occupied by Top Tomato Farmers Market. So the sign is still there. And as I said, the request is to allow a special exception to approve the proposed religious facility. The site is commercial office designation and C1 zoning, and the majority, the north is a restaurant, C1, south is C1, which is an auto parts store, and I think a Papa John's Pizza next to it, and duplexes along 13th Avenue, about three duplexes, and to the east of it is single-family residential. To the west, across West Dixie Highway, is also C1 and is made up of strip commercial. So basically, as I stated, that the parcel is about 3/4 of an acre, but only the west half or so is developed with the building and parking. This use is permitted under the land use designation, and in the LDRs, this proposed use does meet the definition of a religious institution under Section 7-101. Again, staff has reviewed the application and deemed it complete. We've drafted the report summarizing the application. We've recommended findings. There is a staff recommendation at the end of the report, and it's been provided to you, the board. And again, this was noticed in the paper on July 7th. The courtesy notices were mailed July 8th, and the property was posted as required by city code. So for the special exception, there are certain criteria that we must look at. Whether the use is a listed special exception in the district, and yes, it is listed in the C1 district as a special exception. That the appropriate access facilities, pedestrian road access driveways are there to service the use, and they are. It is along West Dixie Highway, and there is a drive and sidewalk adjacent to this property. There is adequate parking on the property for occupants and paid employees of the religious institution. And the last thing is if there's suitable landscaping or fencing along the property lines adjacent to the residential zoning. We've looked at this, and we're recommending as a condition additional landscaping or some type of material on the north and east and south and part of the south sides of the property. Let's see. It does have all the basic services to service it, and The last criteria is if it's an appropriate use for the area, and our response is that it is. With that, we're requesting that the board approve the application subject to 6 conditions, and I'll read those into the record. The first condition is that the applicant agrees to abide by the special exception use criteria as set forth in Article 3, Division 5, Section 3-504 of the LDRs. Failure to do so shall constitute a basis for the revocation of the special exception approval. Number 2, that a more suitable hedge or landscape buffer be planted between the proposed religious institution use and the adjoining commercial to the north and residential east and south, subject to approval of landscape plans prior to the submittal of building permits. That the applicant apply for a building permit within 18 months of approval of the special exception use, and failure to do so will result in the expiration of said approval. Number 4, that the certificate of occupancy from the Building and Minimum Housing Department be only issued to the applicant upon compliance with all terms and conditions of this approval, the same subject to cancellation upon violation of any of the conditions listed herein. That the use comply with all applicable requirements of the city's Public Works Department, Police Department, and all other county and state agencies. And finally, do you want to handle this one, or? And there's the 6 month, and there's a little.
Yet another condition, and it's in favor of the applicant. State law exempts religious institutions from having to pay business tax receipts, so I would like to have that language stricken as a condition. Religious institutions under Chapter 205 of the Florida statutes do not require payment of the business tax receipt by a religious institution. So, again, whereas the certificate of use is applicable to the structure, the BTR is not. So commencing with number 6, where it says, where it ends Community Planning and Development Department, I would like to strike the language in the business tax receipt. That implies payment. A business tax receipt is a payment made in receipt of that tax receipt. So that payment is not necessary. Thank you.
So I'll just reword the condition number 6 to read that a certificate of use from the Community Planning and Development Department be only issued to the applicant upon compliance with all terms and conditions of this approval, the same subject to cancellation upon violation of any of the conditions listed herein.
Yes, exactly. So that will bring it into compliance with state law.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I'll move to approve with that striking.
Oh, I'll second that. Okay.
Oh, just
We have.
Just kidding. I'll pause my motion.
Does the applicant wish to come up and say a few words? What's surprising?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Nikki Alexis. I'm residing currently in 410 Northeast 160th Terrace in North Miami Beach, Florida. I'm here on behalf of Samaria Christian Church Incorporated. I am a current board member of Samaria Christian Church. I'm joined by the board president and the pastor, Pastor Roden, and also I think in the back we have another one of our pastors and some church members and some board members also here with us. We leased the building on 13995 West Dixie Highway about 3 or 4 months ago. We are a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 organization recognized by the IRS. As we highlighted in our letter of intent to the city, we were currently located in North Miami Beach, Florida. We're transitioning to North Miami, Florida. We plan to bring with us all the resources that we have with us currently, food programs and youth programs and adult programs and even senior programs also. So basically, that's it.
Thank you.
Are you going to say something?
My name is Reverend Roden Alexis, the senior pastor of the Samaritan Church. I have nothing to add what Sister Nikki just said. That's it.
Okay, does anyone else, public forum? Anyone want to get up and say anything? Oh,
That's our second.
Yes, my name is Reverend Cassell, and I've been working in the city for so long. I've been living in North Miami.
I'm sorry to interrupt. As a point of order, sir, I don't remember. Did you take the oath? Were you, or did you come in later?
I came
I
late.
think you came in later, so if you can, please raise your right hand.
Maybe
you
for
swear-
everybody else who wants to speak
There
too.
anybody else that has not taken the oath that desires to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. It's the only price you have to pay to speak tonight.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's not expensive. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may proceed. Please commence again. I'm sorry for the interruption.
No,
Commence again with your name and locate where you reside, your address of residence.
Yeah,
Thank you.
My name is Cassell Seffler. Yeah, I've been a pastor living in North Miami since 1994.
And your address?
165 Northeast, 128 Terrace.
Thank you, sir. You continue, please.
And we've been there, and just like my orders say, we have that church, and I was suit in North Miami Beach area, and it's going up. We have passion to help more people in our community and serve, whoever need it. And we find this parcel, that space that's, great, will be fit our church, and we were thinking about renting it, and we do all the process that we have to do. And now it's up to you guys to see what type of society you need in the city of North Miami, because we're ready to go on. And I serve to the juvenile sometime. I go and help like a voluntary chaplain, and I work at a church like with adult. I do counseling for growing up and young kids, and I help the youth to evaluate themselves to become better citizens. And basically, we do all the teaching of the Bible, and we believe it, and
Amen.
we take people from nothing and bring them to something.
Amen.
We transform the society. I don't.
anyone else would like to speak? Then public forum is now closed. Anyone have questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. On this proposed change of occupancy, the name is Mercantile to Assembly, but on the application, it's Samari Christian Church Incorporated. Why is there a different name on this? It was in the packet. You see, it says.
Mhm.
So what's the discrepancy on that?
Flagami Land Corporation is the property owner,
Mm-hmm.
and the church is the tenant applicant.
Okay, who is
Mercantile.
Mercantile to Assembly?
Yeah, there's two names.
Who is that? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little confused. I mean, it was recently prepared May 25th.
Have you had a name change with the church?
No, we're still Samari Christian Incorporated.
Does that name ring a bell to you or mean anything
No.
to you?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Maybe it's talking about the change of occupancy itself. It was Mercantile, which is the tomato market.
Is
I'm
that
just throwing
the-
this out. I'm not sure, but that's the
It
only thing that
doesn't
may.
sound like a tomato market.
Well,
A mercantile
it,
to
it was
assembly.
it was Mercantile,
Mercantile
so I
to
don't know if that's what
Assembly.
they actually meant.
Okay.
I can
Mercantile to church.
I can tell, I can say this. I did my search, my own on the 15th, and it's Summary Christian Church Inc. So
Okay.
whatever, and this is the document I go by because this is the state of Florida registration. That document was probably a prior tenant, but this is the one that I depend on. And this is the one that I go by because this, in the end, is the company that that's representing.
I just wanted
It is the
to
applicant.
clear that up.
That's a good,
I think.
good
I think-
catch.
Yeah, but I think it's a proposed change of occupancy, and I think that's what they meant by, it was a market, and, which is a mercantile use, and they're changing the occupancy from mercantile use to an assembly,
Okay.
public assembly use.
Yeah,
That's the only, I don't know for
Hard to
sure,
say.
but
Okay, my second question is you said that you signed a lease with them. What was the duration of your lease that you signed?
10 years.
10 years, okay. And the photos that you gave, they appear the building's boarded up. Is that correct? These photos that I have show
That's
actually,
no
I took
windows.
them.
Oh, you took them?
Yeah.
So
It's
then it is
vacant
boarded
currently.
Okay. And can you describe what changes you plan to make to the building?
Well, it was used for a market, so the inside is going to be transformed to suit a church more. Basically, some offices, the pastor's office, and someone was needed. And inside of the assembly, chairs and an altar, and basically that's it. Renovation, just adding an altar and chairs for the assembly and some offices.
And with your existing congregation, how many people do you service on a given Sunday?
Right now we have 79 active members, and on a Sunday we can come together with 100 to 125 people.
And do they come to your church in a bus, or do most people drive their own vehicles? I'm just wondering about the parking.
No, that's fine. We have a bus that most people take their bus transportation, and we have others that walk because they take public transportation, and we have a few that also ride their own cars.
Do you feel that the parking would be? I guess what my concern is as your congregation grows, and I hope it does for you, I wonder about the overflow of parking. There's a field here, and I imagine that field is not part of your lease, correct?
It is.
Oh, it is?
It is one parcel. It's just
Okay.
unimproved. The eastern half, basically, of the whole parcel is unimproved.
So that's part of the lease.
Yes.
So that could be an overflow parking
Yes.
if needed.
But we look
Okay.
at asphalt, and there are 19 spaces that are on asphalt.
Just for that
Yeah.
particular building,
Yeah.
19, and then that lot. Okay.
There's a bunch of space back. Like I said,
Right.
it's
Okay.
half the parcel. But we were looking at the asphalt,
Right.
and actually I counted 19 spaces.
Because Dixie is kind of difficult to park. There's not a lot of
No, there's not.
off-street
You're
parking.
you're
That's why I was
correct.
wondering about the parking. But if that lot is part of it, I
Yes.
can see that being
Yes.
sufficient. Thank you.